students coming in from other countries. That includes China. And we have 500,000 Chinese students coming in. I've always been in favor of it. Does it mean that you have to watch people? Yeah, you have to watch students, but you have to watch other people also. I've always been strongly in favor of it. I think it's a great thing. It's good for our schools. I think it's good for our country. I'm also in favor of having them stay. I've been in favor of letting them stay. If you get educated for 4 years, you're willing to get educated for 4 years. I like people being able to stay. They have some great students. You have some.
Wait, what? What did we just hear Trump say? Always been in favor of 500,000 Chinese students at universities in the United States of America, and he wants them to stay. Cool.
And that's you look at all the hardcore MAGA people on X have been saying, and they've been talking like Trump's going to deport every last illegal. He's coming after the legal immigrants. He's so based, he's so hardcore. When in actuality, Trump is not going to deport every illegal. And he's, that's not the first time he said something like that either. So, reality check for a lot of the people who, are fantasizing about what's possible during this administration.
Yeah, they had, in fact, I'll put up on the screen here. This was a rather strange post that Trump made today on Truth Social. Our great farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been stating that our very aggressive policy on immigration, that thing that we voted for to curtail illegal immigration, is taking very good long-time workers away from them. Like, would those be illegal immigrant workers? Because I mean, how would workers be affected by that policy if they were not illegal aliens? Those jobs being almost impossible to replace. In many cases, the criminals allowed into our country by the very stupid Biden open borders policy are applying for those jobs. Wait, what? So let me get this straight, Mr. Trump. You're saying that your policy of enforcing immigration law is causing farmers and hotel owners and leisure business owners to lose their supply of illegal alien labor, but this has allowed some other illegal alien criminals to apply for those same jobs. That makes no sense whatsoever. That doesn't make any sense at all. So we must protect our farmers, but get the criminals out of the USA. So being here illegally is not a crime, I guess. And those people need to stay, right? That's what Trump is now saying. Those people need to stay because the other illegals are taking their jobs, right? What?
Well, and look, I understand that, mass deportation of every illegal immigrant is a tall task. It's, virtually impossible in a practical sense. But if you wanted to really cut off illegal immigration, you would haul off some of these massive employers of illegals. You would make examples of them, like these farmers who are, undercutting American wages by bringing in tons of illegals to work the farms. If you made swift examples of them, you would choke off the need for illegal immigration, and then you would see a lot of self-deportations. Seems like Trump's going the opposite direction.
How does Trump know this? He says our farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business have been saying that our immigration policy, our aggressive immigration policy, meaning enforcing the law, is taking long-time workers away from them. So, Mr. President, you're telling me that people have come to you and said, hello, Mr. Trump, I own a business, I own a farm, I own a hotel, and I employ illegal aliens, and you've taken them away from me. Like, why are they still not in jail? You've just told the President of the United States that you employ illegal immigrant labor, like you're breaking the laws of the United States. And his answer is not to say, okay, well, let's remove you from our population of business owners since you employ illegal labor. No, the answer is to change the policy and to allow illegal immigration. That's his policy now. That's what this is saying.
And it's not, this isn't, ma and pa, small farmer, with a plot of land in, wherever, West Michigan. This is, massive corporate conglomerates. These are special
Oh yeah.
interests. These are people who write, 7-figure checks to GOP PACs and to the Chamber of Commerce. So money talks, and these people are effective lobbyists. They've had their stranglehold on the GOP for generations, and the GOP does not serve the American worker. It never has. It's always served corporate business elites. And unfortunately, it seems like those sort of people are now guiding Trump's policy on labor as well.
It's strange to see, and we have some kind of big news tonight, folks. I'm just going to kind of catch up with Shane tonight on some things, but apparently a war is now broken out. Israel has attacked Iran, which, if you think that Israel attacked Iran without getting the okay from the Trump administration, you're on drugs. Like, seriously, no. Israel does not attack Iran without getting assurances from the United States. That is not how that works. There is no way that the Trump administration did not sign off on Israel attacking Iran. And I mean, this is breaking news stuff, guys. Like, I can, this is like happening in the moment. Here is what Marco Rubio said. Again, if you believe this, I've got a bridge to sell you. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran. Really? And our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. I'm glad for once, they did not refer to Israel as a she. Sometimes they do that. She has been attacked. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. That means Israel. Remain in close contact with the regional partners. So you're telling me that you had nothing to do with this attack on Iran. Let me be clear, Marco Rubio says. Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Because of course they will, because they know, like everybody else on the planet knows, that we authorized this. And then what's going to happen is Iran's going to strike U.S. assets, and then, oh, gee, golly, Iran attacked us for no reason at all. No reason. We must attack Iran now. This is a war. This is Trump's. I'd like to say the first war started by Trump, but that's of course not true because he's owned Ukraine for several weeks now. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's and let's give
let's
give the Trump administration just to give Trump administration the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that Israel is acting unilaterally and the U.S. did not authorize this. Still, the Israel military is heavily subsidized by the U.S. They are given billions of dollars per year to be able to do these sort of their operation in Gaza with all the bombings and killings and targeting innocent people there. They're able to do that because they're subsidized by the U.S. military. So even if, let's just say Rubio's telling the truth, it's still a operation that's backed up by U.S. force, by U.S. aid, by U.S. subsidies. So the bombs that are being dropped are going to be from U.S. corporations subsidized by the U.S. government, and there's no getting around that fact.
It's all paid for by your tax dollars. By the way. This account, I have no idea if this is actually an official account, but I ran military post. Remember, we didn't initiate it. Yeah. There were talks between the United States and Iran going on for weeks and weeks, and everybody was agreeing that Iran does not need nuclear weapons. They shouldn't pursue nuclear weapons. Russia didn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. The talks were going well. That's why Israel launched this war. Because they knew that they were otherwise going to avoid a war. And now the question is, will Trump allow himself to be sucked into another war by another foreign country? And frankly, my money is on, of course he will. Because
this is the defining moment of Trump's presidency. I know this, we've talked, and you've talked on here about, some of the things that have been going awry within the Trump administration. But there's no coming back from a giant full scale war with Iran. It's over. It's It'll be at least as bad as George Bush's war in Iraq. It'll be at least as bad as Afghanistan. Yeah, far worse, more than likely. And if Tulsi Gabbard had said that there's no evidence that Iran is, using their uranium to build a nuclear weapon. That has been, that program has been taken offline, and the intelligence community assessment has said that they're not, enriching uranium for the purposes of a nuclear weapon. But if they were, look at what happened with Libya when they gave up their weapons, when they listened to the globalists. They immediately overthrew Gaddafi and overran the country with Islamic butchers who had, turned back the clock on that country, and now it's a million times worse. So why would you want to give up your weapons when that's just going to make you an easier target and prey for the military-industrial complex and, the neocons and, the State of Israel, all these different interests that are after you and will go after you and will betray you, will stab you in the back, like what happened in Libya. NATO as well, add NATO to that list. All these different, imperialist entities that have caused so much death and destruction in the region and are about to cause a whole lot more.
Yeah, I think Iran's going to strike back hard, and I think Trump does not have the strength to say this was not our war and we're not going to get involved. He will allow himself to be sucked in, because he always allows himself to be sucked in by these neocons. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. And everybody has warned him not to do this. I mean, all of the smart people like Tucker Carlson and Matt Kibbe and Charlie Kirk and even Matt Walsh, who is no isolationist,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he posted like, yeah, this is an absolutely horrible idea. This will wreck the presidency, and it will, and I hope and I pray that Trump will find the strength to resist the war lobby and the Israel lobby, but I know he won't.
Yeah, I mean, even Tulsi Gabbard released kind of an ominous message, about traveling to Hiroshima and seeing the carnage there, even decades later, destroying all the destruction.
Find the words.
Yeah, here you want to play the clip real quick?
Let's play at least a minute of it or so. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's about a 3-minute video, but we'll play the clip here
to express what I saw, the stories that I heard, the haunting sadness that still remains. This is an experience that will stay with me forever. This attack obliterated the city, killed over 300,000 people, many dying instantly while others died from severe burns, injuries, radiation sickness, and cancer that set in the following months and years. Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Homes, schools, families, all gone in a flash. The survivors, the Hibakusha, they carried the pain of extreme burns, radiation sickness, and loss for decades. Survivors of this attack were asked to put in paintings and drawings their own memories and how they felt and what they saw, and those paintings and the suffering that they conveyed, the pain and the sense of loss were almost more powerful than the photos themselves. Yet this one bomb that caused so much destruction on Hiroshima was tiny compared to today's nuclear bombs. The bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima had a yield of just 15 kilotons of TNT, whereas today's nuclear warheads range in size from 100 kilotons to over 1 megaton. A single nuclear weapon today could kill millions in just minutes. Just one of these nuclear bombs would vaporize everything at its core: people, buildings, life itself. The shockwave would crush structures miles away, killing and maiming countless people. And then comes the fallout. Radioactive poison spreading through the air, water, and soil, condemning survivors to agonizing deaths or lifelong suffering.
Anyway, you guys get the idea.
Yeah,
this is what Ukraine just did like a week ago to attack Russia's nuclear triad. Like this this is as close as we've ever come since the Cuban Missile Crisis to a nuclear confrontation, which Russia now claims absolutely British intelligence were involved in those in those attacks that Ukraine carried out, and the U.S. CIA almost certainly knew to some extent. Now, it doesn't mean Tulsi Gabbard knows. Doesn't mean Trump knew.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that, and this is why Tulsi's put this video out, is because we have at least been aware of and failed to prevent. And in fact, let's just say we're responsible for it because we have been arming and funding Ukraine for years and years and years. And they carried out an attack on Russia's nuclear strategic defense. This is absolutely insane. This is what we voted against. At least this is what I voted against last November, was to not have to worry about every single freaking day worrying about a nuclear annihilation. And yet here we are. Because Trump cannot confront these jackals, these vampires, these monsters that want to start wars that want to start war against Russia, they want to start war against Iran. And he just can't find the words to say, no, I won't do this. He just can't do it.
Yeah, Trump just, Trump should have come out day one and just said, Zelensky, you're cut off. You're getting nothing else. Yeah. You're a parasite. You're a hack. Everything that you've done is despicable. You fooled the world. He should have came out forcefully against Zelensky. But instead, he's trying to play, both sides, or trying to maneuver both sides for a deal, or whatever he's trying to do. It hasn't worked because there's so many interests that are entrenched that want these wars, that want the continuous conflict, that will, provoke Russia in ways that were unfathomable. I mean, imagine if Putin really was half of the dictator that the U.S. media says he was, or the authoritarian, or the madman. We would already be in a nuclear war. I mean, the fact that he's, been so tepid in response to this sort of stuff is miraculous, and the only thing that's really keeping us from total desolation. So Tulsi Gabbard, she might not have known that operation was going on with Ukraine, but she does know that we're on the brink. That's why she released that powerful video. She probably knew something was coming with Israel and Iran as well. So we need to heed her warning. Hopefully, in whatever war room in the Trump administration right now, that people like Gabbard and hopefully J.D. Vance as well, because he's been good on the issue, at least in the past. Hopefully these people are speaking out very loudly right now, and the messages are being heard by the president, or we could be in a situation worse than most can even fathom.
Yeah. So some quick updates in the news. Iran has declared a nationwide state of emergency. Israel did also. MiG-29 is taking off in Iran. They are now firing their ballistic missiles. So there you go. Israel is now striking Iran's nuclear site of Natanz. All Israeli officials are going to bunkers, says the Middle East Spectator. Netanyahu claims we targeted the uranium enrichment site at Natanz and Iranian nuclear and military officials in Tehran.
Yeah, right. So they just happen to be hiding it in a hospital or whatever they'll say.
Correction, no ballistic missiles launched from Iran yet. These are most likely air defense missiles. Okay, so we'll see. I mean, why comment on this event minute by minute? We're not newscasters. We'll see what the story is tomorrow, but this is freaking insane. And there is absolutely no way Israel did this without getting the go-ahead from the Trump administration. No way. Unless they thought the Trump administration were such complete pushovers that they could just do it anyway, which is no better.
Well, I mean, I think there's a possibility that, Trump is wanting to bring about some sort of deal. So Israel is saying, nope, there's going to be no deal because we're going to push the issue. We're going to start bombing Iran, and we're going to put, Trump administration to the test, put the U.S. back against the wall. Obviously, the Republican Party, the majority, probably vast majority of the Republican Party, at least elected officials, will be demanding war within the week with Iran. We've got to stand with Israel. You're going to hear it from everybody. Supposedly America First people are going to turn on a dime in the minutes, hours to come. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on Trump to go to war with Iran. So it wouldn't surprise me if Israel did do this on their own as a way to just push the issue and make peace with Iran completely untenable.
Yeah. Well, anyway, good to see you back on the show, Shane. You've been traveling the world, man. I was going to ask you because you were in Romania when the Romanian election happened. Unfortunately, and some folks who follow the show probably know this backstory, but so Kalin Georgescu decisively won the first round in Romania, who was anti-war, anti-globalism. And so the European Union just declared the elections illegitimate. They claimed Russian interference with no evidence, false evidence, in fact.
They said Russian bots. Russian bots promoted Georgescu's viral posts on TikTok. That's what they said happened. So we have to cancel the election and redo it whenever whenever we figure out a plan to really screw the people over, then we'll call an election.
So then they had another election, and the guy who was not Georgescu because he was banned from running, but the guy he endorsed then ran, George Simeon, I think his name is. And
George Simeon, yes, of the AUR party.
Lost by like 9 points. Now, I want to get your take on this because you actually went to Romania for the election. I heard from sources who are, not in Romania, but from that I've heard from people in Romania that part of the issue was that Simeon was no Georgescu. Like he was not as good. He was actually quite anti-Russian and to some degree pro-European, although he was positioning himself as Georgescu's, guy, but that he had some history in the country and they didn't look at him that way. So I don't know, what was your take on what happened in Romania a few months ago?
I'm a big fan of Simeon. I think he's really good, and I think the AUR party is that's Simeon's party that he founded. They really kind of created the entire right-wing movement in the country. Georgescu was previously with the AUR party, and he left and became an independent because that he really, he wasn't holding anything back. When you look at what he was saying on TikTok, he was, completely unfettered in his opinions. Whereas, the AUR was, I don't want to say moderate, but a little bit more moderate than Georgescu. Georgescu was became the Trump of Romania. And he got a huge, massive following and cult of personality surrounding him. So he just took off like a rocket ship. And once he was, taken off the ballot, forcefully taken off the ballot, then George Simeon of the AUR party came in, and he didn't have the immense cult of personality around him that Georgescu had. So they were able to kind of hammer him down, the entire weight of the national government, the corrupt national government, the Bucharest government, the EU, the media. They were just all coming after Simeon, and he didn't have, I don't think, as much of a cult of personality or a foothold among the people as Georgescu. So they were able to effectively, he did concede. So there was probably some fraud, but I don't think it was, 7, 8 points worth of fraud. So they're unfortunately
the fraud was canceling the first election.
Yes, yeah.
The fraud was disqualifying Georgescu.
The EU's plan was successful, unfortunately, in the interim. But I think once we get another 4 years of the guy's name's Nicurser Dan, who is the new president of Romania. He's Lieutenant Dan. He's the most EU appeasing, getting down on his knees and licking Zelensky's boots kind of guy imaginable. So as all the problems in Romania persist, I think it's the country with the most inequality in the entire EU. As those problems persist, and he's sending money out the door for the Ukraine and other globalist BS, and bringing in refugees or whatever, or embracing LGBT, all that sort of stuff that the Romanian people don't want. I think it'll boomerang around, and George Simeon or someone who's more on the right will win the next time around. But unfortunately, the EU's election rigging scam was successful, at least in the interim.
Yeah, well, too bad for the Romanians, but well, hey, you know, not our problem.
We'll get them. We'll get them next
Too bad
time.
for them. Yeah, well, yeah, too bad for them in the meantime. And you were also in South America or Central America recently. Colombia's in South
Yeah.
America, I think.
Oh, yeah, I was in South America. So yeah,
Okay.
I was. I went
double check
to.
my geography there.
I went to South America in Medellin, Colombia. There was a Patriots Network conference of different leaders in Latin America. I've been working closely with some of the different governments down there, the governments and right-wing political parties in places like El Salvador and Honduras. So I'm meeting a lot of people down there. I just got to learn Spanish next. That's my only thing I have to do because it's tough to communicate with some of them. But so I'm working on that. But working with these different groups and trying to create more alliances, you know, not necessarily globalism, but different political parties that are on the right that can come together and have shared common goals. You know, like what's, you know, with El Salvador and Bukele and Argentina and Malay.
Yeah,
you see those guys.
It's amazing how they're hugely popular. Like Milei is, I think, the second most popular world leader among his own people, after Bukele in El Salvador was like the most popular world leader. Period. It's amazing. It's like actually cutting government in a huge way makes you really popular. It's amazing Trump doesn't want to do that. I don't know why.
Cutting government and kicking the ass of these corrupt bureaucrats is very popular, especially in these countries that have been plagued by systemic corruption and have lived, you know, under poverty for decades, watching their political class grow richer and richer as, you know, they have, you know, God knows, you know, 30%, 40% inflation in Argentina, or the constant MS-13 murders and rule by gangs in El Salvador. You know, they've had to live under that for decades, and they're sick of it. They want authentic right-wing conservative government. They want someone who will come in and eliminate all of the bureaucratic corruption, and, you know, get free markets, get, you know, rule of law back. You know, they're hungry for it, and they see it works in El Salvador. They see it works in Argentina. So more and more of these countries are really on the cusp of adopting that. And I'm happy to be down there as a reporter, as an advocate, helping raise more awareness in the United States of what's going on down there, so that, you know, our new tagline is "Make the Americas Great Again." So we want to make the Americas great again. And I was also at a political conference in Orlando called the Pan American Political Conference, where I was able to speak about digital strategy and the need to talk directly to the people. Don't take any sort of information from the consultant class or from the special interest. Don't kowtow to them. Talk directly to the people. Say to the people what they need to hear, and direct your message to them and your policies around what they want and what's best for them. Not what's best for the corporate interests who, you know, want, you know, in our case, illegal immigration for their bottom line. Do what's best for the people, and even if, you know, you might lose some of that dirty money, the people will understand that you're their champion and rally around you, and you'll be stronger in the long run. And also to adopt new technologies like AI, or, you know, TikTok. Like President Trump, one of the things that he did that I think people don't talk about enough that was important for 2024 was he got on TikTok. There were so many Republicans who were like, "Don't use it, get off of it. It's the devil. It's China. You know, China's coming for our data."
Oh, yeah.
Like it's any better that, you know, Facebook or Instagram are harvesting your data. You know, if it's an American company who's being Big Brother, it's not necessarily any better or much better than China being Big Brother. But Trump got on TikTok. TikTok is actually the least censored platform in comparison to
maybe after X.
Yeah, the algorithm is the most favorable for getting more eyeballs on your content. So Trump doing that gave him a huge leg up with young people, reaching young people in a way that no other Republican president possibly could have. So embracing new technology and having a strong message worth spreading. That's what I was able to tell the people from many countries around Latin America about what they should do in order to have success and kind of follow in what's worked in America and elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Do as Trump says, not as he does. I guess would be the message. This, I hate to even call it this because, it's playing into the marketing, but the one big, beautiful bill that Trump calls it, which, I mean, first off, obviously there's the problem of the massive, gigantic spending. But the other thing that came out was this bit about saying that we're not going to regulate, we're going to ban states from regulating AI for at least 10 years, which is about as long as the AI people say will be all the time it needs to transform our society in every possible way. And Marjorie Taylor Greene actually admitted to having voted for the bill without realizing that this was in there. And, I mean, I guess it's embarrassing to vote yes on a bill and not discover until after the fact that there was things in it you wouldn't support, but
none of them read the bills.
At least she admitted it. At least she finally admitted it. So now she's come out and I'll show you. This is her latest post. I'm not voting for the development of Skynet. That's from Terminator, and the rise of the machines by destroying federalism for 10 years by taking away state rights to regulate and make laws on all AI. So my understanding of this is that the real push for this is coming from Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's company, or one of Peter Thiel's companies, big conservative financier, probably the big one now that Elon Musk is out of the picture.
And you got to remember, Thiel is very, very, very close with J.D. Vance. He's, I mean, you could even argue that JD's a creation of Peter Thiel.
And what they're talking about doing is essentially combining all of these federal databases on American citizens using AI, which, back in the day, like I remember saying, like, the government's collecting all of our phone logs and everything, and all of our emails, but what could they possibly do with it? Because people they don't have the resources to read all of our emails, Now AI can do all that. Like, now they actually have the ability to read every word you type in an email, every word you speak in a phone call, every live stream you do. They can profile, they can do all this stuff. And actually, one of the people that's now emerged as the big pusher of this in the US Senate is none other than Ted Cruz. Because what's happened is this bill passed the House, it passed by one vote, went to the Senate. The Senate parliamentarian has not yet, but is expected to issue a ruling, because one of the things that's in this BBB, this big, beautiful pile of shit, is a provision that bans state and local governments from regulating AI. And the Senate parliamentarian, I guess, is about to issue a ruling on whether or not that's too far afield from being a spending provision to call it spending. So what Ted Cruz is looking to do is amend the bill to say, okay, we'll just condition our funding on broadband, state broadband funding. That will be conditional upon that you can't regulate AI at all. So that's what I mean.
This is against federalism. This is against the Constitution. I mean, I think it honestly might be, if it's challenged, it might be struck down, because this seems like it's illegal commandeering, to coerce the states like this. And yeah, it's grotesque. I mean, you think of all the different ways that AI could be misused. Marjorie Taylor Greene brings up employment. What about all the jobs it's going to destroy? Well, it's going to destroy them as long as the federal government wants it to. And yeah, it's David Sachs, who's like the crypto AI czar of the Trump administration. He released and he said, oh, well, we need to do this because it's what's best for, national security and blah, 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 and industry. And, we can't, we have to be number one, or China, the usual BS to get us.
It's amazing how
power grab.
These Trump officials like David Sachs, okay, he's great on foreign policy. Too bad that's not his portfolio. He's the crypto czar whose big thing is pushing AI. And And then you got the neocons in the foreign policy shop. You've got the tech bros in the technology shop. So even if they're right on other issues, it's like they've perfectly designed this administration to be wrong on all of the biggest issues in the worst way possible. So we voted for, ending illegal immigration. We get now Trump saying we should support amnesty. We voted for no more foreign wars. Instead, we get genocide in Gaza and now apparently war with Iran. We voted for reducing spending. We get bigger spending than ever before. And now the Trump
so much for Doge. Doge is a thing of the past.
Doge has been completely destroyed. Apparently, the House actually passed their very first Doge bill today. They rescinded a whopping $9 billion. Wow, $9 billion. $9 billion. That's what we got, a $9 billion cut out of trillions. Remember Elon saying we're going to cut $1 trillion? No, we got $9 billion that just barely passed because some of these Republicans, like Mark Amodei from Nevada, were demanding no cuts to NPR funding. We managed to cut NPR funding by, I think, $1 billion. What do you freaking do?
Yeah, and $9 billion in the One Beautiful Bill Act, that adds what, $4 trillion to the debt.
Yeah.
So it's just a drop. It's literally a drop in the bucket. It's a slap in your face. It's a slap in our faces. The way that they're going about this, and yeah, Rand Paul and Thomas Massey are the new piñatas because they're the ones who aren't willing to go along with this dog and pony show.
It's amazing. Just look at this photo. You've got Jeff Flake, Marco Rubio, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and Bob Menendez. All these hardcore pro-amnesty, pro-immigration senators. And where are they now? Well, Jeff Flake's gone. Okay. Marco Rubio is now the Secretary of State. Chuck Schumer is still a minority leader. Lindsey Graham is the actual president of the United States. John McCain's dead. But by and large, these are the people that really run the administration. You don't. Rand Paul and Thomas Massey are the ones who are actually talking about cutting government. Rand Paul, I remember when Ron Paul ran for president, his platform was ending birthright citizenship. That was in Ron Paul's platform when no Republicans were talking about that whatsoever. And Ron Paul was the one saying birthright citizenship is nonsense. And none of them were saying that. I mean, now some of them are starting to. We'll see what the Supreme Court does about that.
And I believe it was like what, 150 billion in border security provisions are included in the Big Beautiful Bill Act. It might, that might be less or a little bit less or more. That's I think what I remember it being. But 150 billion, while the entire debt is going to be added to the tune of 4 trillion. So this big giant, swamp spending bill omnibus, the same thing that's fueled all the corruption in Washington, D.C. for generations, we're going to have to go along with that because they're going to play hostage with one of the very few that and the tax cuts, the good things in the bill. So we have to accept all this crap, all this garbage. God knows what it is. We'll find it'll just keep getting worse and worse as it's unfurled before us. We have to deal with that in order to get the handful of things that we do like. That's how the swamp works. And God bless, Thomas Massey and Rand Paul for standing up against it and for taking the heat from so many disingenuous MAGA influencers on X who have been making the most obscene arguments, reality-defying arguments against them.
Yeah, so the story this morning was that Rand had announced that he was disinvited from the White House picnic, which I guess is a thing. I've never heard of it, but whatever. And then the White House, Trump comes out and says, "No way, I didn't disinvite Rand. No. Rand's invited. He and his beautiful wife and his beautiful family are invited." Yeah, right. Of course, they got called out and they changed their policy. Obviously, that's what happened. Now, probably it was some stupid, bigoted staffer that did this and had to reverse the policy when the blowback was bad. But yeah. And speaking of bullshitters, so George Hiller on Rumble says the U.S. had nothing to do with the strikes on Iran or the ongoing current second wave. Take your Ritter-loving BS up with Netanyahu. He's talking about Scott Ritter for some reason. Yeah, right.
I have a signed. Hey George, I have a signed book from Scott Ritter
I do
on
too.
my
Actually.
bookshelf.
Yeah. But that regardless, no, there's no freaking way Israel strikes Iran without getting the go ahead from the United States. No freaking way. Anyway, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens, folks. Because I'll wager Iran's going to strike back. And then what's Trump going to do? My money's on saying, oh, Iran attacked us. What can we do, guys? We have to attack Iran now. It's going to be a war.
And he's going to have to go up.
I hope it won't be, but I'm telling you, it will be.
He's going to have to go up against, not just the neocons who he's letting his administration, but the whole of the Senate, the whole of the Republican caucus in the Senate and the House. There's maybe going to be a few dozen who say we need to get out. We need to stay out of this war. Every other Republican will be just foaming at the mouth, demanding that the U.S. get involved. And then they'll be, holding the one beautiful bill hostage over whether or not Trump gets into it. So Trump's going to have to expend incredible amount of political capital not to get involved in Iran, and it's going to take some extreme bravery or extreme nimble navigating to stay out of this war. And based on what we've seen thus far, it doesn't seem like the Trump administration is capable.
I don't think so. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I don't wish Trump to fail. I really don't, because it means Republicans down ballot will fail too. And
this might be the last chance to save our country. I mean, that's what we say every election, but we're really in 0 hour. It's getting bad, and Trump's probably the last best chance to save our country. So we all should be invested in him doing well. But that means if he's messing up, or if there's errors in the administration, we should be calling that out. We shouldn't be attacking the one or two people with the courage to say, hey, this is bogus, as these MAGA influencers do. All these MAGA influencers on X, if they were to come out and say, hey, this big beautiful bill, what's with all the pork in it, and mount an opposition to someone like wormy Mike Johnson, they might be able to rally enough people to throw a wrench in the entire process. But instead, they're on the take. They're doing the bidding of swamp consultants like Chris LaCivita, who is waging war against Thomas Massey right now. And that's what a lot of this has to do, is poisoning the well against Massey so that this consultant can make big money running someone against him and destroy the best congressman we have in the U.S. House right now. So that's really what's going on here.
So
and don't forget,
when he's not wrecking our chances of getting a conservative senator in the United States Senate, because he's backing that scumbag Mike Rogers. He's also attacking Rand Paul and Thomas Massey.
Yes.
And Trump isn't stopping any of this. He isn't stopping any of this. If we don't cut spending this year, what in the world makes you think we will do it next year, or the year after that, or the year after that? If we don't get out of the Federal Reserve when Trump has the White House and the Republican majority in the House and the Senate, how will we ever pass it? You guys understand the Federal Reserve hates Trump and they're conspiring against him? And as Rand Paul has an amendment on the Senate floor on the Genius Act that's going to get a vote probably tomorrow on auditing the Fed, Rand is being attacked by Trump. He's literally sabotaging his best friend in the U.S. Senate on the Federal Reserve. The guy who stuck up for him when he was being impeached, when Mitch McConnell was like, "Oh yeah, these impeachment charges are very serious. We have to hold trial." This is the pattern, and it just keeps on going, of Trump treating his friends worse than his enemies, and bowing and breaking to the swamp and the warmongers, and they're going to wreck his presidency, and he's not stopping them. And every day it gets worse and worse and worse. Every day.
Yeah, the time to do all this stuff is now. Trump has, he withstood, the media beating him up. They tried to throw him in prison. They tried to shoot him. He came out all of that sort of stuff looking better than ever and stronger than ever with more momentum than ever. But the time is now to do it. You have the political capital, the political will is there. You were elected to bring sweeping change to the nation, to drain the swamp. And you put, I would say in the first administration, people in positions of authority. So do it. So do it right now. But
I think it was last Sunday. Last Sunday's stream, I said, Trump's been bad in a lot of things. He's been really good on immigration. One thing he's been really good on is immigration. Now he's going back on immigration. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm hearing from all these wonderful farmers and hotel owners that actually we need to have some illegal immigrant labor in our country. What? Where is this coming from?
And and I've in the past, I've been not a big fan of Elon Musk. I don't like the whole a guy whose whole thing is I'm going to drill microchips into people's brains. I'm going to be kind of leery of that guy. So haven't really been a fan of Elon, and I think him accusing Trump of being on the Epstein list was not a good move.
But Elon, that was bad tactics. But Elon genuinely stated the biggest problem we have is our national debt. We have to cut the spending. And he enthusiastically started Doge to do that. And he was carrying out his mission. And then what happened? Congress said, you know what? We're not going to pass any of your Doge cuts. In fact, the Senate overwhelmingly rejected his cuts to the foreign aid spending. And Musk just said, you know what? Fine, it's not worth it anymore. I mean, here's the thing. I talked about this on the last Sunday stream, but I'm going to say this again. This whole who won the fight between Trump and Musk, and of course the consensus on the internet is Trump won. He put Musk in his place. No, you morons. Musk won the moment he took his money away. That was terribly damaging. You just lost your best ally on planet Earth. When Musk said, you know what? It's not worth it for me. I'm not going to give you my money anymore.
Think about
it. That right there. Just boom.
Think about it. Elon Musk was all in. He was all in. He was all in to be the George Soros of the populist right. He was all in. He wanted to cut government. He wanted to come to Washington, D.C. with gangbusters and change everything and do what he's done so well in the corporate sphere. He wanted to do it in Washington, D.C., shake things up like they've never been shaken up before. And guess what? Now he's on the sidelines. He's not going to spend shit. And in 2024, the Democrats and their machine had so many institutional advantages over Republicans. So much more money, so much more well organized. They had more people in the field. They dominated in that respect to a huge wide margin. But then we bridged the gap, and the reason why we bridged the gap was because of Elon Musk, America PAC, and the amount of money he was willing to put up last year. We bridged that gap faster than anyone could have imagined. We could have built upon that for 2026, but now it's all gone. It's all pissed away. Doge is a thing of the past. It won't even be brought up in 6 months. And now we got the big, beautiful swamp bill, adding $4 trillion to the debt, more, tax cuts while also cutting Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. How's that going to look on the campaign trail when the Democrats are talking about it next year? Not good. It's not looking good for the midterms. We had so much potential, and it's basically been pissed away already.
Yeah, I have a calendar on my wall. I just pulled it down. This was like literally last month, May. There's Musk. There's Musk with Vance and RFK. Bobby Kennedy, probably only administration the only official in the Trump administration is getting anything positive accomplished is Bobby Kennedy. But a calendar that's not aged well, unfortunately. I think Musk is in one of these other ones too. But the Trump coalition is not looking very good, folks. This is bad. This is bad. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I really do. I know people don't like hearing it. And people get angry at me. Cisco says, Adam sure thinks he knows everything. Well, feel free to disagree with my points by saying something. Tell me why I'm wrong. Go ahead and tell me why I'm wrong. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been,
folks? You voted for secure border. You got guys saying, actually, immigration's a good thing. Why? Why is he saying these things?
And you've been doing this since 2008. I've been doing this since 2012. So it's not our first rodeo. We've watched these cycles come and go. We've watched, the the Tea Party get sold out and
Yeah.
be twisted inside out and made ineffective. And you see the writing on the wall, and that's what's happening right now. That's why Elon is gone. That's why Lindsey Graham is salivating at the thought of war in Iran. That's why Rand Paul and Thomas Massey are getting thrown under the bus for opposing a huge national debt increase. You see the writing on the wall, and it's not going very well, and looks like it's about to get a whole lot worse.
Yeah. This went to Lindsey Graham's X feed. President Trump's endorsement means the world to me. I am humbled by his faith in me as a senator and as a friend.
Endorsing Lindsey Graham and saying Thomas Massey must go.
Yeah. Jane,
Game on.
Do you think Peas 47 will cancel this weekend parade in Forest? Good question. Yeah. So Saturday is Trump's birthday and Flag Day and some kind of big military parade. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Yeah. Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, seeing the military parade, as we're getting ready to go to Iran and go to war with them, it's not gonna be as much of a win as it would be if it were, relatively peacetime.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I guess we'll call it a stream. You got any events coming up, Shane? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to plug?
Nothing that comes to mind immediately. I'll give a little final rant.
Yeah, please.
You look at what's going on with, all the different things we're talking about and how bleak it seems and how Washington, D.C. is hopelessly corrupt and the debt keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And, the more you try to fight it, the more it seems like it's futile and there's nothing you can do. I would say if there's something to be very encouraged about, it's technology. Not necessarily every technology, but cryptocurrency and particularly Bitcoin. If we're going to be able to have a free society, it's not going to be because we pass some law or we get the right guys elected, we get the bums out. We should know by now, if you get the bums out, you're just going to replace them with new bums. So what we need is technology that can help us innovate our way out of the messes that we're in right now and make a lot of the problems that we're dealing with, like inflation or debt or centralized power or the state itself, make those institutions completely obsolete. And I would say Bitcoin is the way to do that. And for a final plug, go to mibtc.org. We're doing a lot of Bitcoin education these days. Come into different areas, want to come to your town or your group and talk to you about Bitcoin and how it's the path out of the madness that we're in right now. And we have experts. We'll take all your questions. I think we can, even if you're a skeptic, you'll at least leave with a great understanding of what it is and perhaps opening your eyes to not just an opportunity to save your money, but an opportunity to create a better and freer world. So it's the Michigan Bitcoin Trade Council, mibtc.org.
Well, there you go. On Rumble, George Hiller says it's a celebration of the Army's 250th birthday. That must be Flag Day coming up this Saturday. Yeah, sure. That's what it is. It's totally not Trump's birthday that he's having a military parade for. Yeah, no, I think it's probably just like Trump's jealous that Russia had a big military parade last month. I'm sure it's got something to do with that too. But whatever.
Ours is going to be bigger than Russia. Bigger, better.
Yeah, it probably won't, but whatever. Jane also says country of Ireland's having the same problem as the United States. Protesters in Iran. That's another thing. I was hoping Trump was going to put those protests down with an overwhelming show of force, and I'm a little disappointed. Although I guess apparently they haven't. The U.S. Attorney for New Jersey has indicted that one member of Congress, so that's kind of neat. But yeah, I think they weren't punished for this in 2020. I guess because probably Trump was concerned about the election coming up. But hey, it's 2025 now. This is the time to crush these protesters. Because if you're carrying out an insurrection, which let's be honest is what it really is. trying to overwhelm law enforcement, trying to overwhelm the government from being able to enforce the laws. You know, seems to me that would justify a that would be a legitimate use of government force, would be to quell a rebellion where the people carrying out the rebellion are also waving foreign flags. Yep, seems like kind of a thing you might want to to do, but no, apparently the protests are still going on. So I guess is it this Saturday? It is Saturday, the same day as the military parade, Flag Day, Army 250th birthday, whatever you want to call it, is also apparently the Democrats' day of unrest, the day of rebellion. In fact, I saw they've actually branded
no king. It's like what the No Kings rally.
They branded it with a bloody crown is their branding for this event. So the usual insurrection-y, violent rhetoric that we've come to expect from them. So, all right, guys. I think
I'll add one more thing on that. Like,
go ahead.
My thought is, maybe the National Guard kind of went easy on them in L.A. because it feels like they're almost trying to provoke the Trump administration to doing something that they can call authoritarian, to get more of their people angry, to build that protest movement so that they can escalate things more. I feel like from the polling data I've seen, it seems like people are disgusted with the protesters and support Trump's riot response or whatever. So maybe crushing them might have backfired. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I would like to see him crushed, though, personally.
I'm just looking to see if there's any updates on the situation in the Middle East. Apparently, all of the weapons Israel's been launching have been launched from Iraq into Iran. So there you go. And apparently, Iranian state TV is announcing that some high-level Iranian officials have been killed. So there you go. Yeah, it's gonna be really bad, folks. It's gonna be really
mission
bad.
accomplished.
Yep. All right, guys, that will do it for us for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. As always, hit that like button. Feel free to also share the video and all that other good stuff. And we'll be back on Sunday evening with our regular weekly live stream. Until next time, thank you guys, as always, for Audio for Liberty. And please, I don't like to be the bearer of bad news. I hate to say it, folks, but, there is bad news, and that's just kind of the way it is. So, we're going to call it as we see it. And hopefully, and I feel like every week my hope is going down just a little bit, that Trump wises up. But we'll see what happens in the days to come over this outbreak of war in the Middle East, which is going to be probably, I'm guessing, very bad. So until then, I guess we'll catch up on Sunday. We'll see how things go then. Till next time, peace.